stress reliever.
Right.
So we're going to do a deep dive today.
Yep.
We've got articles, research, and even an actual coloring book
Wow.
to figure out, is this legit?
Yeah, I mean,
Is there something to this, or is it just, hype?
I'm curious about that.
We've got a news report, some insights from the Mayo Clinic,
Okay.
and, wait for it, a Goofy Gators-themed coloring book.
Goofy gators, huh?
You'll see. You'll see when we get there.
Sounds interesting.
It's a whole thing.
Well, coloring does seem to be having a moment, that's for sure.
Right.
I'm really interested to see, like, what's the psychology behind this?
Yeah.
What's the science? Is there any...
Is it just clever marketing?
Yeah.
Or could there be, something deeper going on?
Right, exactly.
Well, we found this news segment from KPRC2 Click2 Houston,
Okay.
and they paint a pretty interesting picture. Apparently, adult coloring books are like flying off the shelves, topping bestseller lists and all that.
Yeah.
And get this, the reporter even mentioned that, like, her mom and her cousins are all into it.
Wow, so it's hit home for her.
Yeah, like her whole family's hooked.
So it really does suggest that it's not just a small group of people. It seems like it's tapping into something broader.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe that need for stress relief that everyone's feeling these days.
Yeah, or a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, totally.
Something like that. They interviewed the psychologist, Dr. Ross.
Oh, okay.
And he had some really interesting insights.
Oh, great.
He was saying how coloring can kind of help you get out of your head
Okay.
and into the present moment.
Oh, I see.
Like giving your brain a break from all the worries and anxieties.
Yeah, those thoughts that just keep spinning around and around.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
I mean, our minds are just like constantly bombarded these days
Oh, tell me about it.
with information and stimuli, and it's no wonder people are feeling overwhelmed,
Right.
stressed out.
Total.
So I can see how coloring could be like a way to disconnect from that chaos
Yeah.
and enter a more like mindful, focused state.
Yeah, like a mini vacation for your mind.
Exactly.
But without having to actually, pack a suitcase.
Right.
And Dr. Ross had another interesting point.
Oh, what's that?
He said that coloring, unlike, say, watching TV,
Yeah.
actually requires active engagement.
Okay.
So you're not just passively absorbing something.
You're involved.
You're choosing the colors, you're focusing on the pattern.
I see.
And that kind of focused attention could be a really powerful distraction.
From those stressful thoughts.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
It's not just distraction, though.
What do you mean?
Well, what's happening is you're engaging in something that requires just enough focus
Yeah.
to keep you present, but not so much that it becomes overwhelming.
I see.
And that can lead to what's called a flow state,
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that.
which is incredibly restorative for both your mind and body.
So it's the flow state that's beneficial.
Yeah.
Not just like the activity itself.
Precisely.
Interesting.
When you're in a flow state, you lose track of time.
Oh, yeah.
They're totally absorbed, and you're not judging yourself.
Okay.
You're just enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
It's pure focus and enjoyment.
All right.
And that can be super recharging.
Especially in our world, with all the demands and distractions.
Exactly, all the time.
And Dr. Ross, he actually went beyond just coloring books.
Oh, really?
He said any activity that allows for this kind of focused engagement without adding stress can be good.
Okay.
So he mentioned things like crosswords,
Yeah.
gardening,
Yeah.
even shooting hoops.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's the idea, right?
Yeah, totally. The key is to find something you enjoy,
Yeah.
something that lets you get into that flow state. And that's going to be different for everyone, of course.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
For some people, it might be coloring. For others, it might be playing music,
Yeah.
working on a puzzle. Who knows?
Right.
It's about finding what works for you.
So it sounds like there's more to this coloring trend than meets the eye.
It seems that way, yeah.
It's not just a fad.
No.
There could be real psychological benefit here.
Right, and it's not just anecdotal evidence either.
Oh. What else is there?
Well, we've got some research here from Coloring for Stress Relief
Okay.
and the Mayo Clinic.
Oh, wow. The Mayo Clinic.
Yeah,
They're pretty legit.
they are very reputable.
Okay, so what do they say?
Well, they both highlight that coloring actually engages the brain
Really?
in ways similar to meditation.
Huh. I wouldn't have thought of that connection.
It is interesting, right?
Yeah. Tell me more.
Okay, so think about what happens when you meditate.
Okay.
You're basically training your mind to focus on the present moment,
Right.
letting go of all those distracting thoughts. Okay.
And you're just observing like your breath or
Yeah.
sensations in your body
Yeah.
and coloring. in a similar way.
Okay.
It encourages you to focus on the task at hand,
Right.
choosing colors, staying within the lines, engaging with the patterns.
Yeah.
And that can quiet the mind, bring you into a calm focus.
Just like a form of active meditation.
Exactly. You could say that.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I can see how that would be really helpful in our, crazy world.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
And as you keep practicing this kind of focused attention,
Okay.
whether it's through coloring or anything else,
Yeah.
you're strengthening your ability to regulate your attention and emotions,
Interesting.
which has a big impact on your well-being.
So it's like building a mental muscle
Yeah,
for calmness and focus.
exactly.
I like that.
It makes it feel more achievable.
It does. It does.
It's not about being perfectly zen or anything like that.
Okay.
It's about cultivating a practice.
Right.
Like any skill, the more you do it,
Yeah. The better you become.
at shifting your attention away from the stress.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got the psychology,
Right.
and now the science is backing it up.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Pretty amazing that something as simple as coloring could have this kind of impact.
It is fascinating.
Yeah.
And there's another detail I want to bring up.
Okay.
The research mentions something called the amygdala.
Oh, yeah, the amygdala.
Right. It's a part of the brain that processes emotions.
Right.
Particularly fear and stress.
Yeah, it's like the brain's alarm system, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And what's really interesting
Yeah.
is that research has shown that coloring, especially those complex patterns like mandalas,
Yeah.
can actually reduce activity in the amygdala.
Wait, so you're saying that coloring can calm down that fight or flight response?
That's what the research suggests.
That's incredible.
It is pretty remarkable.
Wow.
When you feel that anxiety spiking,
Yeah.
your heart racing, thoughts swirling,
Yeah.
coloring those intricate patterns could actually help soothe those responses.
Bring you back to calm?
Exactly.
So it's not just about distracting yourself.
No.
It's about actually, like, calming down the physical response to stress.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
No wonder these adult coloring books are so popular.
Right. It's tapping into a real need
Definitely.
in our modern world.
And you know what else?
What's that?
You don't have to be a great artist to enjoy this.
That's a good point.
Like, I'm not, Picasso or anything,
Right.
but I can stay in the lines.
Exactly. It's not about creating a masterpiece.
Right.
It's about the process.
Yeah.
The focused engagement, the flow.
Right.
It's giving yourself permission to be creative
Okay.
without judgment, without pressure.
So low stakes creativity
Exactly.
that anyone can enjoy.
I think that's a big part of the appeal.
Yeah. You're not setting yourself up for failure.
Right.
You're just playing, experimenting with color.
And that playfulness is really important. When we engage in things that are inherently enjoyable,
Yeah.
we tap into our intrinsic motivation,
Okay.
that desire to learn and grow.
I see.
And that's good for us overall.
It's like giving ourselves permission to be kids again,
Yeah,
but with the added bonus of stress relief
exactly.
and all these potential cognitive benefits.
It's a fascinating mix of psychology, science, and art.
It really is.
And I think it speaks to a larger trend,
What's that?
this growing awareness of how important these mindful, creative activities are
Yeah.
for combating stress and boosting well-being.
And the best part is,
What's that?
it's so simple.
It is.
You don't need any fancy equipment or
Yeah.
expensive memberships.
Just a coloring book and some crayons,
That's it.
and you're good to go.
I'm feeling inspired.
Yeah.
I might dust off my old coloring pencils,
Nice.
rediscover that joy.
I love it.
I used to love it as a kid. Why not?
Exactly. The Mayo Clinic actually had some interesting findings about coloring and...
Really?
Yeah.
Now, that's something I didn't expect.
It's intriguing, right?
Okay, tell me more.
So they highlight the importance of reducing screen time before bed.
Oh, the blue light, right?
Exactly. That blue light from our devices,
Yeah,
it can mess with our sleep cycle
I've heard that.
by suppressing melatonin.
So staring at our phones before bed is making it harder to fall asleep.
That's what it's looking like.
Wow.
Because that's the hormone that regulates our sleep-wake cycle.
Okay.
And coloring, on the other hand,
Yeah.
offers a screen-free activity to help you unwind before bed.
Without disrupting the melatonin.
Exactly.
So instead of scrolling through social media,
Right.
I could be coloring a mandala
There you go.
and getting ready for sleep.
Exactly.
I'm intrigued.
And speaking of mandalas and coloring,
Yeah.
remember that Goofy Gators coloring book?
Oh, yeah, the one with the alligator.
The one and only.
What's that all about?
Well, it's pretty whimsical. It's all these funny illustrations of alligators doing human things,
Like what, right?
like playing golf,
Okay.
riding bicycles.
No way.
It's adorable.
That sounds hilarious.
And the product description
Yeah.
specifically mentions stress relief for adults.
Which aligns with everything we're talking about.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's really interesting.
I'm looking at it now.
Yeah.
It says, escape the daily grind and unleash your inner artist
Yes.
with these goofy gators.
I love it.
They also mentioned the single-sided pages.
Oh, yeah, good for markers.
Right, to prevent bleed-through.
Exactly.
And it says the designs are meant to be fun and easy to color.
So no pressure.
Yeah, you don't need any special skills.
That's great.
It's a perfect example of how this trend is, like blending creativity,
Yes.
humor, and stress relief
Totally.
into something that's fun and accessible.
And it's not just for adults.
Oh, really?
That description mentions enjoyment for kids, too.
So it could be a family activity.
Absolutely. Parents and kids can connect, unwind.
Be creative together.
I love that.
Yeah, it's multi-generational.
It really is.
That's so cool.
It speaks to the power of these simple activities
Yeah.
to bring people together
Yeah.
and just have fun.
So we've got the science, we've got the psychology,
We do.
and now we have an actual example
Real world example.
of how this is playing out.
Exactly.
I'm starting to become a believer in the power of adult coloring.
It is compelling, isn't it?
It is.
And it raises some interesting questions.
Like what?
Well, if something as simple as coloring can have such a big impact,
Yeah.
what other overlooked activities might have similar potential?
That's a great question. I'm thinking about all the things I loved as a kid
Yeah.
that I've dismissed as childish now.
Right.
Maybe it's time to revisit those.
I think so.
Yeah.
There's a reason those activities felt so good.
Right.
They tapped into our natural curiosity,
Yeah.
our desire to create, and the joy of the process.
Not just the outcome.
Exactly.
That's so true.
Maybe it's not even about looking back to childhood.
Yeah.
Maybe it's what people are already doing now.
Yeah, I have a friend who's all about gardening.
Okay.
She says it's like therapy for her.
I can see that.
And another friend, he does woodworking,
Oh, nice.
and he finds that same kind of focus.
It's all about finding what works for you.
Exactly.
And what's great about these analog activities is they're usually pretty accessible.
Right.
You don't need special equipment, expensive membership.
Well, to get out there and do it.
Exactly.
That's a good point. Especially when we're talking about stress relief.
Right. It shouldn't add more stress by
Sure.
being complicated or costly.
Thanks so much for listening. Why not check out the colouring book Goofy Gators, which was mentioned in the podcast? Click on the link in the video description.